So bears are a thing, and if you want to keep bears from invading your neighborhoods, you should go to patreon.com/recesscastproductions. For less than the cost of a ridiculous bear tax, you can support our show. That's bonus episodes, exclusive content, and early access just for you. Awaken from your bear-filled nightmares with patreon.com/recesscast today. Warning. After Credits Podcast does not prevent bear attacks. Do not attempt to ward bears off by playing the show. If you have already tried, please do not sue and consult a therapist for your questionable life choices. Yep, just another lazy Saturday during a pandemic. Nothing new, nothing to see. Just look at that big old empty schedule. What? A new release? In this economy? What fool would put it out to these empty... Oh no. Ryan, they've released it. It's not a drill. I repeat, it's not a drill. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast who actually talk about New Mutants. Because with Mulan controversies and Tenet, why would you? Why would you? I'm your host, AJ Waseska. I'm joined by Ryan Matters. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, I'm glad it at least came out. We were supposed to get this, 2 years ago?
It's been delayed like 4 or 5 times. And to be fair, it's not just the movie's fault. I'm sure part of it is. Part of it's post-production and all that stuff. But we gotta consider the Disney buyout. We've got to consider the COVID. We've got to consider Dark Phoenix. All these things existed and delayed this movie. And we didn't get Deadpool 3 yet. So, I don't know what we're really doing here.
Well, damn. At least, like I said, I'm glad it at least came out. I'm glad to have actually seen it after having been introduced to the concept and then teased for years on end.
And here's the thing, I'm not mad about this. I think there are things in this movie that are done well, and if we're going off the grading scale of the X movies we've talked about so far, this ranks average. I'm not gonna give an actual ranking until we get to the end, but I don't think it's anywhere near the bottom of the list.
Yeah, same.
Apocalypse still holds that pretty hardcore.
Yeah. Apocalypse was bad in spite of having really good things going for it. It was trying hard to be bad.
So welcome to the show. If you guys are wondering what we're talking about, I'm sure you figured it out by now. Title gave it away, probably. You can follow us on various platforms of choice. Patreon, YouTube, Pippa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict. You can also follow us on social media. That includes Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, and Ryan, if they want to email us directly to ask us why we're covering this film, where can they email us at?
They can email us at A Werewolf Has No Name. Excuse me. Sorry. That's evacstation at gmail.com.
Werewolf? Their wolf. Their Xavier Mansion.
Stop it.
Shout out to that episode. The intro song this week is my own original mix, actually. I did some editing of the original X-Men theme and turned it into a minor key to see how that would play in a spooky episode.
My man is a true Renaissance man. He's just dipping his hands in every pie that he can because he can. He's that good.
I have no shortage of weird skills. None of them are good enough to be a career, but they're all good enough to be like a jack of all trades kind of thing. So,
hey man, own that shit. There's a lot of people that can't do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's nearing the end of a rather disappointing Halloween season. Not because of bad movies, but because of lack of any new movies, I'm sure you've all noticed, to talk about. Luckily for us, one film, a much delayed film, has been jettisoned from the crypts of the 20th Century Fox. A horror film, no less. Sort of. So surprise, bitches! It's another Disney-mation in your terror time this year, with the new Mutants, originally planned for release in April 13th of 2018. April 13th, 2018, yeah. And then delayed to February 22nd of 2019. And then again to August 2nd of 2019. Then April 3rd of 2020. And here we are at the end of August 2020. I honestly thought this would just go to streaming, Ryan.
Yeah, honestly, me too. Like, this is. I remember we talked about Tenet and how I would have been really sad if the first time that I had seen Tenet would have been in my studio apartment. I would have been fine seeing this in my apartment, honestly. Yeah. I mean, that's not a mark against the film, but like this isn't a movie that really requires the theater ambiance and the setting to really sell it.
I don't know. I think being in a dead theater that's like empty of life makes sense for a movie that's supposed to be kind of spooky.
I suppose. I do suppose.
I remember once I saw a movie, I think it was The Boogeyman. It was just me, my buddy Josh, and our buddy Alex, and partway through he was like getting all spooked, and so my buddy Josh, I was just throwing popcorn at him, just during the movie, and freaking him out. It was great. It was a good time.
Honestly, I kind of wish that I could have gone with people to see this, but I mean, like, the feeling of being actually the only person in the theater is actually very, very interesting. It happened with Tenet and it happened with this one. So I got to kind of react as big as I wanted to, which was really, really nice. But yeah. Man,
I wish I could see more movies with you. Like, that would just be a good treat.
Yeah, I'm fun to watch movies with because I kinda amp the excitement for some people. I try to keep it from being too distracting, but my excitement is a bit contagious.
I mean, I think that's good though. I think it's good. It allows everyone to have a good time.
Yeah.
As long as they're like, in on the bit. As long as they're in on the bit. So yeah, this movie was written by Josh Boone and Nate Lee, directed by Josh Boone. This film has currently a worldwide gross of, going back to that page, $38 million. On a budget reportedly as high as $80 million.
Oh no.
Well, reshoots and changing hands, it's not surprising. There was no way they're going to make this money back.
Also, there's a big ass CGI bear, man. That's rough. That's rough on the budget.
Yep. The cast includes Blue Hunt, Henry Zaga, Dustin Kraithammer, Charlie Heaton, Alice Braga, Anya Taylor-Joy. Good to see her back in something.
Yeah.
And Macy Williams as the only reason most people actually tuned in to check this movie out. Someone tell me I'm wrong. Anyway.
Fair. It's very fair.
Ryan, unlike Tenet, this movie actually has won an award.
Hey!
Actually, I'm sorry. It was nominated. My bad. It was nominated for one award. Its poster in 2018. That's it.
I mean, some of the visuals in this shit are really, really interesting.
There are some good visuals, and if you'd given it enough polish, and by that I mean, like, actually devoted time and resources to it, it could have been really good. With that in mind, fun facts. Have at Ryan.
Oh boy. I'm just reading the first one, and I'm like... I'm laughing and also mad at the same time. All right. Yep. Josh Boone intended this film to be the first in a trilogy, with the second film to be an alien invasion movie featuring the alien mutant Warlock, and then the third and final installment to be a supernatural apocalyptic horror movie based on the X-Men comic event Inferno, where demons invade the Earth and magic plays a major role. Boone is a major X-Men fan and owns a large amount of their comics, but admitted that he found shooting to be stressful, as he felt a bit neutered because he had to tone down the film from his original full horror ideas. I kind of want to see this. I want to go to the alternate reality where this shit got made. because that sounds really cool.
I want to see what else Josh Boone has done, so I can kind of gauge whether or not he would have had the chops to really do like a full-on horror thing. Because I mean, if you're an X-Men fan, that's great, but if you don't have the chops for horror, let's see, he wrote. Okay, so he is known for, let's see, as a writer, he's written Stuck in Love, All We Have, The Pretenders, New Mutants, The Stand, and The Talisman. He has directed mostly the same things, including several episodes of The Stand. So, not a lot of horror chops. I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I would be very shaky on that.
Well, I mean, so we'll discuss his use of the horror genre, like later on. But I do have a couple other fun facts for you. A villain in the film wears a smiley face mask. In the comics, the New Mutants faced off against a mutant supremacy group known as the Right, who wore smiley face masks. Subtle, just real subtle, Mr. Boone. Very subtle.
I mean, I feel like that'd be a shot at the original comic writers. Yeah.
Right, last fun fact. The film reuses footage from Logan 2017. The character, in 2017, the character Danny has a vision of mutant children in a facility. The footage is taken directly from the video that Logan watches in the film, which is a very clever way to tie it all together in their loose, shared universe.
We'll get to that. There's plenty of things we can dish about that. So initial thoughts. So listen, guys, I did not hate this. Okay, there's a lot of naysayers out there, a lot of people who bashed on Dark Phoenix or bashed on this one, and I think most of it just comes down to the same thing you hear a lot. What's it matter? X-Men's over. Wait till Disney reboots it. It's not important. It's not worth watching. And admittedly, this probably is not worth watching. I'm not saying that because it's bad. I'm just saying because it's directing to lead somewhere, and unfortunately, we will never see where it's going. But this isn't how you end a beloved franchise. This movie was definitely a byproduct of the Fox buyout, and it's kind of a shame that this is all we get.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the few people who actually really liked Dark Phoenix and enjoyed what it was doing.
Preach, brother, preach.
Yeah. Like Dark Phoenix, this movie wasn't a huge cinematic masterpiece, but I think for what it was trying to do, I think it does it pretty well. I think it introduces some newer young faces, and it does something different with the X-Men IP that had not been tackled in live action movies as of yet. And you saw them branching out with Logan. You saw them trying to mix the old and the new with the X-Men saga and like leading into Dark Phoenix, where you kind of had the best of both worlds, kind of sending off the franchise. And you had this movie, which was again trying to do something new, but setting up a group of cool young people with powers and doing their own thing and doing a brand new thing. I absolutely would have wanted to see more of this. It's not a masterpiece, but it was really cool, and I enjoyed watching it.
You can see it's the building blocks of something bigger, and if they had been given the full opportunity, it could have been something pretty cool.
Definitely.
I have a synopsis here for you, and then we'll dive into some questions.
I'm ready.
Danny runs from destruction of her home to find herself in an asylum of sorts run by one Dr. Cecilia Reyes. She rudely calls Danny a mutant. Danny is introduced to 4 other horny teenagers to fill out the horror movie quota. Cannonball, Sunspot, Wolfsbane, and Magic. They have actual names, but they aren't as cool or as interesting. Each character reveals a bit of their tragic backstory through group therapy and truth or truth games. The kids believe they are being trained to join the X-Men, but a plot twist reveals it's actually the Essex Corporation. We've seen hinted in multiple spin-off films at this point. Reyes is instructed to kill Danny when her powers of being the Scarecrow prove to be problematic for the Essex Corporation to control. Truly, the only thing to fear is literal fear itself. Wolfsbane kills the Doctor mostly. Danny, unconscious, creates Slenderman from Magic's nightmares to attack the school/asylum as some kind of defense mechanism, I guess. Also, a giant fuck-off bear monster appears. All of the conscious kids try to fight it, but they aren't powerful enough to stop it, or stop the power of a bear, America's greatest natural enemy. After communism, of course. God, can you imagine a communist bear? I'm so scared right now. Danny has a discount Black Panther moment when she speaks to her father's spirit, telling her to face her fear. Danny awakens and doms the bear hardcore. I'm exaggerating. She tells it to stop, and it obeys. As the sun rises, the group calls themselves the title of the movie, and the credits literally roll.
I could hear the guys at CinemaSin shouting "roll credits" in my theater. It was weird.
Yep, and then literally they rolled, and it was like, oh, well, I guess Sin removed.
It's the first time they actually listened to us. Oh shit.
So, with all that, Ryan, what did you think of this movie?
This movie was fun. Like, honestly, it felt like a summer movie that young people were supposed to go to and kind of like input and like insert themselves into this fiction. And I think it does that. I think it was really, really cool. I liked the character archetypes that were being worked on. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is someone to watch out for. I think she really had a standout role in the movie, and I think she's going to be fantastic to watch out for.
I think when you give her something to work with, she can have fun with it, and she looked like she was having fun.
She looked like she was having she looked like she was having fun and making the most of what she was given. So if she's given some really stellar material, I think she's gonna be amazing. But for this, I mean, I think Magic was a very well portrayed character.
Even if I'm not a big fan of her having Lockheed as a pet, because Lockheed's totally Shadowcat's thing, and Shadowcat does not get enough attention in these movies, so I'm gonna complain because Kitty Pryde's awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, how familiar are you with the New Mutants from the comics, and how does this compare?
I am not familiar at all, so it compares very favorably. I mean, honestly, I like the representations of the characters just by themselves and their powers and how they relate to their powers, I thought was done very well. I thought, rather than it being, oh, I'm a kick-ass mutant and that can have the power of the sun and be fucking super strong and turn into a Mayan fire god, haha! Instead, all of them had roots in tragedy that really ground them to the characters. So it's you know them as these tragic teenagers first before they really start to kind of tackle their tragedy and become the superheroes that they could be in the future.
So I had seen these characters first in X-Men Evolution. I think the only one I had not seen in anything prior to this was Magic. I've seen the character. What's her name again? I know she's related to Colossus. I can't remember.
Magic. Yeah, Ileana.
Ileana. That's right. Yeah. So Ileana. I've seen her before in the X-Men cartoon when she was not a mutant. But aside from that, though, everyone else I'd seen before. Wolfsbane was in X-Men Evolution. So was Sunspot. So was who's it? Cannonball. I don't remember if Dani was. She might have been, but I don't think her role was ever as big. Because they did all the fun mind power stuff with Jean Grey. Because, well, why wouldn't you? That being said, I've never actually seen New Mutants as an entirety by itself. So I think the concept is cool. And I think this is fun. I cannot tell you how it compares to the comics, though. That's a little outside my realm.
Do you know what Dani's code name is? Because I think
it's just Moonstar. But you know what? I can double check right now because I am very curious.
Well, while you're looking into that, I want to say I really appreciated the.
Oh, I got it here.
All right.
Yeah, that was quick.
The quickest vamp I've ever done.
So Dani Moonstar, originally codenamed Psyche, and later Mirage.
Ooh, Mirage. All right.
I like Mirage. Mirage is good.
Yeah, Mirage.
It's just... Oh, I think I remember doing that one for one of the X-Men or Transformers. And I was the one that was both.
Oh my god, Danny transformed into a giant bear. Nightmares in disguise. Alright.
So you were saying.
Yeah, but I really like how they portrayed the relationship between Danny and Wolfsbane. Cause I could see where it was going, but everything in my mind and in my body was like, she's gonna show that she has feelings for Danny, and Danny's not gonna reciprocate, and it's gonna be really, really awkward, but she's still gonna want to help Rain because Rain's her friend, and that's gonna be super duper awkward. But no! They actually didn't queerbait this time. And I'm so happy that they didn't. Like, I think it was a really great choice to actually do it the way they did. And having Rain actually end up being like her spirit wolf was really, really cute for me. So I just want to say kudos on that. I think they handled that very well.
See, I don't know if I like my X-Men game political.
Yeah, the X-Men aren't a political IP. Absolutely not. They're not a way to tackle hard-hitting things like the civil rights movement or fucking... No. They can just stop being mutants, right? Yeah?
I'm sorry, I could not resist that one. No, I appreciate that, and it's a shame that this has been bought by Disney, who will go into fully hide any sort of even hint of non-heterosexual relationships, you know? I mean, look what they did with Elsa and how well they're handling that. In all seriousness, I think it's a nice change of pace. I think we always see the same love triangle of Jean, Wolverine, and Cyclops. You know, who's going to end up with Cyclops, Wolverine, or Jean? Who knows? But they always seem to lean into Jean and Cyclops. I don't know why. Obviously, you know, it's because you want to make sure the redhead ends up with somebody. But come on, I think Scott needs a little pounding from Wolverine. Let's be real.
You know, apparently in the latest comics, they're actually in a relationship, all three of them.
That's a little weird.
Don't shame polygamist relationships.
I'm not being anti-poly, but I'm just saying, like, I liked it better when there's a competition. I don't like it when they're all getting along.
Oh, so you would prefer that Jean was some sort of trophy to be won by Wolverine or Cyclops? Is that what you're saying?
Again, I don't know what the deal is. I don't see why Scott can't be the trophy here.
Because Scott's an asshole.
He does have one, and that's what Wolverine wants. But in all seriousness, no, the traditional relationships you see are Jean and Scott and Rogue and Gambit, and very rarely does it really stray from that path, which on one hand is good. I do like those relationships. On the other hand, it's nice to get some variety. So this is a nice bit of variety to get here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
Granted, we've also been in a series where Wolverine was the main character of like 40 films, so yeah, I think variety is very much overdue.
I mean, hey, they had Hugh Jackman. They wanted to milk the hell out of that guy. Ew. Sorry. Pause.
I know,
Pause.
I know, but like
phrasing.
You got so much. You got so many other characters that have so many cool things to offer. Like, why not?
That's very true. That's very true. Although, honestly, if we had to settle through 40 Wolverine movies, if we got Logan, I think it was worth it. Just saying.
I'm still mad he didn't end up with Cyclops in the end, though. Anyway. I'm gonna play that bit into the ground. Should this film have committed harder to the horror aesthetic like Boone wanted? Or should it have pushed more for the superhero aesthetic like the studio seemed to be pushing for?
I would have appreciated more horror. I don't think they went too light on it. I definitely appreciated it. And like having this be kind of like a transitional film from the X-Men franchises that we know and are used to seeing to kind of testing the waters into a different genre, it makes sense that the studio didn't want him to just go full horror. That being said, like, Danny's powers literally making you physically relive your worst fear is pure horror fuel. That's absolutely a horror aesthetic. So it's the perfect superhero horror like plot handed to them on a silver platter. So they absolutely could have leaned a little harder into that, and I think it would have been made better for it.
Mm-hmm. I think it should have leaned one way or the other for sure. I think, or I should say, leaned harder one way or the other for sure. And it's not so much that I don't think it is good enough. It's not good enough just as it is, but I think you need to commit to a bit. I think you need to really push to really stand out. I think that they dipped their toes into horror a bit, and you get some really cool visuals, some really cool ideas, but you don't really get the feel, you don't really get the intensity that could be there if they had just, that's not like gone all the way in, but like at least, waist deep.
Yeah, but and this is actually one of the reasons why I don't prefer horror games. Because within the element of, we're within, the genre of horror, and I know we've had this discussion before, but there's kind of an element of helplessness where, the threat that you're facing is so ridiculously beyond your league that you have to struggle so hard simply to survive. And it's hard to launch a new teen superhero group in the midst of shit that they literally cannot handle. So, I think toning down the horror aesthetic just a little bit so that they actually have a chance to come together as a group and actually fight it off makes sense. Which is why I can see why they kind of went half and half. I think they could have went a little harder on the horror and still had that final sequence where Magic is fucking taking on the bear and they're coming together as a team and Sunspot's fucking duking it out and Cannonball rushes in and saves, and you could have still had that if you leaned a little harder on the horror beforehand.
Are any of the characters that stand out for you? And if so, which one and why?
I really love Wolfbane's design. Honest to God, the concept of her partially transforming is really, really cool. I think the best thing that they did were her eyes.
Oh,
the black and gold were fucking gorgeous. Oh, man. Oh, kill it. I absolutely love that. If I liked all of the characters, and I also really appreciate films with a smaller cast so that you have more time with each of the characters and really get to delve deep into who they are as people. So I think having a small cast for this really, really works. And I loved all of the characters that were used. But if I'm going to pick one for aesthetic purposes, I think it would be Wolfsbane's eyes.
I think Wolfsbane is done really well here compared to what I've seen in, say, other X-Men media. She just seems sort of generic and or a background character in the X-Men Evolution show that I watched. And I've never really seen her in anything that, makes her a standout character. But here, no, they really sell it on the character pretty well. And I would pick her, but I think I'm going to actually go with Sunspot. I just like seeing him on the screen finally. And I also really appreciate the kind of dark backstory they gave.
Yeah, man.
Holy shit, that's rough,
super rough. I also really appreciated that he was pretty much the coward of the group.
The tough guy being the coward, yeah.
Yeah, he when you first meet him, he's confident and he's a dickhead and he just he knows he's so much better than you and da 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 da. But when the shit comes down to it, he's afraid of his power because the girl that he loved died in his arms.
And it's a really good reason for it.
Yeah, it's totally justified. I'd be afraid of using my power too if that were the case. So it also gives him really valid things to work through. And so I think Sunspot would definitely be my number 2. Cuz I love what they did just with his overall character.
Mhm. Are there any characters you wish they spent more time with? Who and why?
So, like I said, having a smaller cast means that you get a good amount of more screen time with all of them. So I think they did pretty good by everybody. I would have wanted to see more of Cannonball.
A little more backstory for him wouldn't have been bad. I feel like they kind of just glossed over that pretty quick.
Just he killed his dad and everybody that they were working with in the middle of a mine, which is already an amazingly terrifying and dangerous environment. And a random fucking mutant power just pops off and he kills everybody. And he can't face that, so he keeps digging? Shit! That's tragic! Oh my god! And he's zooming around and why does he do that? And she says, I think he wants to hurt himself. And I'm like, oh fuck! No!
It's pretty impressive how many characters have a dark backstory just to be in this whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like they coordinated that. So I know it's dead now, Ryan. But the series teased Mr. Sinister for such a long time with no payoff. Do you feel ripped off?
I mean,
why not?
So yeah, this is definitely one of those things that the byproduct of the Fox buyout. And to be clear, I am glad that we're going to have a more cohesive MCU moving forward, and we're going to get because the X-Men is such a big part of the Marvel comic franchise. It's really good, and I'm glad we're going to have it all together. But they had been working on some really interesting shit, and they were taking notes from the MCU on how to seed small things in your movies to give it a sense of interconnectivity and to subtly play at stuff that's coming up. So I think the build-up to Mr. Sinister was going very, very well. I would have absolutely have loved to see them go through that. Especially with this movie where you realize that while the X-Men are an established thing in this universe, Sinister is over here actually breeding mutant killers. So X-Men versus what the Essex Corporation has got pulled up is gonna be a fucking thing. That's gonna be a scrap. But we'll never see that.
Nope. And I appreciate that they're doing this in a way that DC has still been struggling with for a while. I think they're starting to get the groove of it. But I appreciate that X-Men got it figured out sooner. It's just, of course, it was too late for them to really do much with it. So, do you imagine this film would have been better off unreleased or without the Fox acquisition? Why or why not?
So in terms of the Fox acquisition, if the Fox acquisition never goes through, I think they have a better chance of actually establishing their own identity. Because, like you said earlier, a lot of people wrote off Dark Phoenix because it's just no one cares. It's the last movie that Fox is doing for the X-Men. It's gonna be rebooted anyway, so this literally doesn't matter. But I personally think that what they were doing with Dark Phoenix in the melding of the old X-Men franchise and the new one throughout the course of this whole new trilogy that they were pulling off was actually done very, very well. And I think that if you gave them some more time to really get their feet underneath them, they would have actually had a very, very comprehensive X-Men universe that would have been really, really cool to watch. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think this is definitely something I would have loved to see released no matter what. But I wish they had gotten this out the door before the acquisition happened because the whole thing was just a mess. And I think a lot of films went into limbo or just got lost in the shuffle. And I don't know, the Fox acquisition, is, and I'm hoping we don't have to ever bring it up again, I feel like it was a weird, big event in film that is also kind of understated. Like, you and I talked about it a lot because it is a big deal, and a lot of big things did happen. But for the average layman, they don't really seem to notice because, for the most part, it is not going to impact their lives all that much. Only thing that most of them probably notice is, oh, hey, Simpsons is over on Disney Plus right now. I'll go check it out. But outside of that, though, not much has really changed for the average person. And I'm wondering, is that going to end up being, like, how it is for everybody? Or are we going to see some ripple effects from this acquisition beyond just, oh, the X-Men got fucked up for a bit?
Well, I mean, Star Wars got fucked up when Disney acquired it, so who knows?
Yeah. And to be fair, Star Wars had been getting raked over the coals a bit from the prequels, so it's not like they were in perfect standing before the acquisition, but they certainly weren't helped.
They had a platform to do something new and breathtaking, and they fucking pulled back at the last moment. They flinched. Cowards.
And I will give them Force Awakens. I will give them one. You had to establish you guys could do it. You did. You don't have to repeat yourselves again. You did good. Last Jedi brought you in a good direction. You had some interesting moments. It was going to be something new. And then you drop the ball. You're like, oh wait, nope.
They fucking flinched. I'm still so mad. I'm so mad they didn't follow up from Last Jedi. Oh my god.
Rise of Skywalker is going to go down on this podcast as like one of the worst films you've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even absolutely that it was like offensively bad. It's just it had so many opportunities and didn't take any of them.
Wasted potential is very, very offensive in my eyes.
Oh, well.
And you still didn't give her a fucking double-bladed lightsaber. You morons! No, sorry. We're not even talking about that right now.
If wasted potential is offensive to you, I should probably leave.
I offend myself if that's the case.
Oh,
anyway.
Fair enough. Would this film have benefited from at least one recognizable X-Man member appearing? Why or why not?
No. In fact, I think one of the best things this movie does is keep it very separate from X-Men. Like they only bring it up in mention once, and it's to lean into the fucking twist of who's actually running the facility. So I think like acknowledging that it is a thing in the world and that the concept of people being mutants is established, and that there are very notable mutants that are like running around trying to save people and doing all this is absolutely key for world building. But let them exist only as that, and let this group establish its own identity separate from any of those people. Let them get if an X-Men shows up at the end of New Mutants 2, that will be fine. I mean, if like in the alternate universe where this trilogy actually happens, the X-Men showing up at the end of New Mutants 2 would have been fine.
So, I would not have been opposed to a recognizable X-Man. However, I'm going to stretch the definition to recognizable. So I'm assuming when I say that, most people are going to think, oh, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean, that threesome of weird sex stuff going on. But no, I'm thinking even smaller than that. I'm thinking like Jubilee level or something even lower than that. Like, I wouldn't go Nightcrawler because he's pretty well established, and the problem is he would aesthetically fit in this pretty well, being kind of a horror monster himself, but because he's so well known, A, he's not going to die, and B, he has the power to get out of the situation if it gets really bad. So trying to find an X-Man who would fit the mold the best would be tough. But I would say anyone at Jubilee's level would be interesting. Trying to think of who that would be. Maybe like Rogue possibly, but I don't know. I feel like her powers would potentially break the system because she could just tap Danny, and then that might stop the nightmares.
But see, if you're gonna actually put like somebody that we know is going to eventually be on the X-Men, then you spend all your time wondering, okay, when is this person going to leave the group to become an X-Man, or when is this group gonna fold into the X-Men? And I think it makes more sense to keep them, let them establish their own identity as a group, separate from the X-Men.
Okay, how about this? What if they put Morph in here? He dies anyway in various episodes of the cartoon show, so I think it's fine. Then his nightmare could be just a Sentinel show up again. This one's for you, Morph.
Poor Morph. Goddamn.
This one's for you, Morph.
Okay. We talked about this before. Well, actually, I'll get to that question here in a second. Ryan, is there any other aspect of this film we have not covered that you want to hit up?
No. I think we've mostly covered through all of that. Yeah.
Yep. It's not a very deep film, and I think it's largely just a byproduct of it having been gone through reshoots, re-edits, and just kind of all over the place. So I don't think they were able to give enough of the time and polish and depth to really make it sell it the way they could have.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff here that could have been fleshed out way better. And with that, Ryan, this is the end of X-Men for the time being, until we do the Wolverine movies and the Deadpool movies. Those are still down the road. We'll get to them when we feel like it. There's no rush, obviously. Ryan, we've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring it up one more time. What do you want to see for the future of the X-Men?
Well, the integration with X-Men into the MCU definitely is going to be a huge thing. So I'm very interested in how they're going to tackle that, as after effects of the snap, and like the huge levels of gamma radiation that essentially soaked the world through, since like that's what happened when the snap happened. Definitely something that could happen. I think ultimately I'm interested in them doing something like Avengers versus X-Men. That's a major event. like I don't know if they're gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they'll bake it into one movie like they did with Civil War. I hope they don't, because while I think Civil War was neatly encapsulated in one movie, AVX can't. Just really can't. Not if you want to do it justice. But I think they're also looking for more cosmic level threats. So while I think they know they can do cosmic level stuff easier, I think the best direction to go after facing an external threat would be the internal threat. So if instead of working up to somebody like Galactus, them working up to like an actual Avengers movie level fight between the Avengers and the X-Men.
I am still waiting and interested in the Mexican Magneto idea. We all know it. We've all talked about it. It should be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also down for a Brotherhood movie, actually, or a Brotherhood like Netflix series. I think that'd be not Netflix, Disney Plus series, where you follow the Brotherhood like Avalanche and Pyro and Toad and all them, just having weird shenanigans. I think it'd be fun. I also think X-Men as a whole would be better as a streaming series where you follow their adventures week to week or episode to episode versus trying to make big event films every single year for them. I think it's a big ask, and I think it's a big ask to keep that quality up. Whereas if a series is going, every character can feel like they're getting a moment versus, oh, hey, this movie is about Wolverine, which is like the last one, and the one before that. So there's a lot of opportunities to really do something that they couldn't do before because the platform didn't exist for it. And I'm hoping Disney takes the opportunity to really take X-Men to a better place than they could have been before. I am worried they will circle back to what has already been done, so hopefully they won't, but we'll see. I'm optimistic. Mexican Magneto.
It's also worth mentioning that like in the past there's been a lot of trouble trying to connect like a weekly show / series with like the major happenings going on in the movies. They tried it with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was going good for the first season, but eventually they made the decision to kind of separate the universe off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from the MCU. And I think the show was better for it in the long run. But now Disney Plus is going back to the well with that idea. They're doing WandaVision. They're doing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and these are shows that are absolutely going to have a bearing on the MCU moving forward because they're considering they're notable members of the Avengers, and they're backed by Disney. So I think if those two go very well and can be integrated well into the MCU movies going forward, then I think there would be a hope for something like that for the X-Men.
And like I said, I think X-Men is one of the brands that can pull it off the best, most easily. And I'd love to see it, like, you have an X-Men series for, like, your kids, one for your adult characters, one for your villains, if you really want to do a third one. And then you just do a movie every couple of years where they all come together and do something stupid.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before, and I know we'll probably talk about it at least one more time, because, like I said, Wolverine's coming, Deadpool's coming, they're a thing, and we'll talk about them at some point down the road. Because we're gonna need to do something until movies come out. So, just you wait, guys. So yeah, that is it for New Mutants, I think. The horizon, it looks kind of bleak for new films at the moment, because Wonder Woman is pushed back to Christmas, and we don't even know if that's set in stone yet. But until such time, Ryan, we can let everyone know to follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. And if they want to email us their bleak hopes for the future going forward, where can they email those bleak hopes to?
They can email those to Russian Witch Fights Spirit Demon Bear at sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
I'm still scared of those communist bears. This is where I rank the show from, or episode from, or I've got it all wrong. This is where I rank the movie from.
This is where we rank our own episode of the podcast.
Oh,
How do you think we did?
This is the trash tier episode right here. Trash tier. This is where you rank the movie from platinum to trash, all the colors in between. Ryan, if I were a betting man, I'm going to say you're going to give us a bronze.
Damn, are you actually psychic? Did you just read my mind?
I mean, I did go to the Xavier School for the Gifted and Psychic for a while there, so.
Again, a man of many talents, Aaron. But you definitely read it correctly. I would give it a bronze. I don't have too many issues with this movie. I think it was fun. I think it was playing with some new ideas that I think could have been executed a little better, but also were fun. They were experimental. They were trying some stuff out to see it. I think this movie is a victim of a lot of different circumstances, and it sucks because I think there is something really cool that could have been built off of in this movie. But as it stands right now as a standalone package, I think it was a fun movie to see. I don't regret having seen it, but it's not necessarily something that people need to go out and see. Like if you have an afternoon and this is on streaming on Disney Plus, give it a watch. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
I don't think so either. I would say I'm probably between bronze and stone, and not like mad, angry, oh this is bad stone, but more just this had potential and it.
This is S.
Yeah, it's like it had potential to really be something, but it just didn't quite hit the marks. So it's like borderline for me. I'll be charitable and give it a bronze though, because I don't want to put it down any closer to Apocalypse if I don't have to. Listen, guys, I know y'all want to say that Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants are bad, but like, go back and watch Apocalypse again. And aside from the Stan Lee cameo being one of the best Stan Lee cameos, that movie's pretty trash all around. I mean.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac just did not. It's not even his fault, but like he did not get that role, the love it could have had, and I think it's just the writing and the directing just all over the place. And I could go on about that movie being bad. Anyway, Yeah, so that is New Mutants right there. Tune in next week. If I have scheduled this out correctly, you will be getting who knows how many episodes. I guess if we break it down properly, it'd be like 30. You're going to be getting a few weeks, months maybe, of Avatar: Last Airbender, the cartoon show. It depends on how long this quarantine / lockdown / Hollywood's not doing shit thing goes for. We will find out sometime soon. Until then, we will see you after the credits.
Bye.